morning. So thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm Sam from Opus1.io. We have a lot of requests on a regular basis for a lot of questions around how do I track conversions in Opus1.io for things like lead capture, for registrations, for enrollments, for self-booking overall. And often people ask us how to put a pixel or on the thank you page or things like that. And pixels are kind of like the old school way of tracking certain things in what we call old school web applications. There are more modern, effective, and better technologies these days. And we're going to be talking about one primary one, which is called Google Tag Manager. And I will let Kena explain that in more details for us. And Kena is our partner, Red Blind Media, who we've been working with for several years. Red Blind Media is also helping a lot of music schools handle marketing, ads, and actually it's with working with Kena that we a few years ago integrated Google Tag Manager actually at their request so that we could get the tracking they needed. And I also use Red Blind Media at my own music school. So some of the things that Kena is going to be showing you today are things that Red Blind Media, so first of all, the things that you can do yourself first. We're going to show you how to use Google Tag Manager and how to set up the tracking in Opus1.io self-booking. The same technology can apply to other applications as well. And Kenna will show you how to do some of this yourself. And then if hopefully you can have yourself or your marketing team or your web designer or the person that handles the ads for your school able to do the same thing. And Kenna would probably also show you some of the things they've done for some of our music schools and my own, because I'll let Kenna explain what they do better than me. So Kenna, thanks for doing this today. I will hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. So yeah, I'm Cannon Miller from one of the partners here at Red Blind Media. Like Sam said, we're a small boutique agency, mainly focusing on paid media, and we specialize in local service businesses like music schools. So we do a lot of paid media for a lot of music schools, and a really core part of that is being able to track conversions, whether that is someone filling out a lead form on your website or someone completing a self-booking in Opus, or making a phone call, or whatever that conversion action is that gets a lead to go and start talking to you. We want to make sure that we can effectively track those and report those conversions back to the ad consoles and Google Analytics, so that we can better optimize our media. So when we're talking about implementing conversion tracking, specifically for our music schools that are using Opus, like Sam said, there's no back-end panel in the Opus dashboard where you can like drop a pixel, and that's intentional. It can, I mean, there's effectively a way to kind of just do that with Google Tag Manager, but it can sometimes, like if you don't know what you're doing and you're pasting like JavaScript from some shady site in there, it can mess with the Opus application. So we prefer to use Google Tag Manager to deploy all our conversion tags. It's just a little bit more fail-safe from a security standpoint, and then I think it makes things a lot easier from just a configuration standpoint. So essentially, what Google Tag Manager is, and I will share my screen here so we can start stepping through this. Google Tag Manager is a free service provided by Google that allows you to deploy a tag, and a tag can be any piece of custom JavaScript, or it can be something more specific that's already built into Tag Manager, like a Google Ads conversion tag or a Google Analytics event. Tags are really just about any piece of JavaScript that you want to fire in the back end. So if you have instructions to deploy like a conversion tag or a pixel, we'll add that here in the tag section. But what's really great about Tag Manager is that we can connect tags to triggers, and triggers are events or actions that someone will take on your website or within the Opus platform, that we can listen for. We can listen for certain actions or events and then tie those back to tags. And it's not necessarily a one-to-one relationship. Like we can fire add conversion tags on a couple different triggers, or we can have the same trigger fire 2 or 3 tags. This modular approach really lets us be very precise about when certain tags fire and trigger. You'll see that there's a number of tags that we would call like page view tags that fire on every page, and then we have conversion tags that we only want to have fire on specific events. The last thing that Google Tag Manager supports is variables, and this lets you enrich your tags with dynamic data. And what's really cool about the way that Sam and Opus has implemented this is there's a lot of rich data exposed to the data layer that Tag Manager can pick up on. So say you want to track someone through the funnel of a self-booking, and they go and they select a teacher and then a time slot selection. We can actually grab like the service name that someone is using and the teacher name and the time and the location and pass all of that back through variables into like a Google Analytics event. And so it supports the structure to pass a lot of rich data back to your ad consoles or Google Analytics or whatever you're using there. So really quick, Google Tag Manager is free. If you don't have an account, just go to tagmanager.google.com. You can set up a new container and get started. It will pull something up like this and say, hey, here's the code that you need to deploy on your website. For Opus, we don't need all of this. All we need is our ID. And so that's listed right up here in the top corner in the admin panel. And then when you are in your Opus dashboard, all you need to do is go over here into the settings, go to business settings, click the little edit icon on business information, and there's a spot right there to paste in your Tag Manager ID. So once you paste that Tag Manager ID in, Tag Manager is up and deployed and running on Opus. Let's step through the process now to get started with tracking all the different events that you can track within Opus. There is a number of different events that Opus supports being able to track. I've seen the question get asked a lot with how do I track when someone fills out the lead form or when someone fills out the self-booking. There's a knowledge base article that recently got deployed on the Opus 1.0 knowledge base. This gives some documentation around the different event names that Opus will fire on the back end that we can pick up on and then deploy tags on. And so a common one that a lot of people ask for is how do I track when someone submits a lead form event? So that's this one right here. It's this lead capture event. And the way that we would set this up is in Google Tag Manager, we want to set up a listener or a trigger so that whenever this lead capture event happens, then we can attach tags to this. So like an example, I'll go back into Tag Manager here. If we go over to triggers and then we have a, not the page view, form submit event. Let's just create a new trigger right here. We would go and just create a custom event. And for the event name, we're going to reference the documentation again. We could set this up to listen for a page view event or one of the specific events that gets used in the funnel as people kind of progress through the self-booking. Ultimately, if you want to fire your tags on a completed booking, that's a purchase event that gets passed into Tag Manager. In this case, we could just copy this lead capture event here, and that's essentially all we're looking for. And then you would just name this trigger like lead form submission, and then you save it, and then you can attach all your tags to it. That's just one like quick example of how you would go ahead and set up all of this. The common triggers that we typically set up for most music schools is those lead form events, as well as self bookings. And so that self-booking, that purchase event right here, that's going to fire on every booking. So I know some schools offer trial lessons. Some schools offer a couple different ways to like book a slot with Opus. And we may not want to fire like our ad conversion tags on every purchase event every time someone completes a booking. We may only want to deploy that when someone completes like a booking on a trial lesson and not necessarily like a makeup lesson or someone just scheduling a typical purchase. So there's ways that we can add some filters to this so that we're only deploying our tags on the right purchase events. And this gets into kind of the complexities of like the variables of the data layer here. This is all documented here, and I'll paste the link here in the chat, and I'm sure when this gets reposted, Sam can share out the link to this knowledge base article. This should give you everything that you need if you kind of follow along in the knowledge base article. But I'll show you right now how we would typically use this kind of information, pick up on this. So I'm going to go back to Google Tag Manager here. And you can see this is already pre-configured. This is Sam's school that we've got set up here. And we've got specifically a trigger here that we only fire on trial lessons or group lessons. And the way that we accomplish that is we say, okay, I want to look for that purchase event, but I'm going to add some filters here. So this only fires when these conditions are true. And there's two conditions here. One is this production bool. This just makes sure that if you were in like the back end, like dev in a testing environment, it's not going to fire our ad tags. You don't need to deploy this on yours, but it's a nice little fail safe. Just make sure that it's set to true. And then the booking engine service tags. And let me show you what this actually means. The best way to probably highlight this is to jump into the preview mode here. So this is how you would kind of debug or make sure that your tag manager configuration is working. So pull up tag manager, you can stage some triggers, some tags, and then we'll jump into hit preview here. And I'm going to put in
I think we don't see your
yes, yeah, I just switched it over.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
And then you want to put the URL of the Opus page that you're looking to debug here, and we'll go ahead and
I want to point out something also, a common mistake that people sometimes get confused with, even when everything is set up correctly, is they set up the Google Tag Manager, they set up everything, and then they go to the Opus One IO console, the admin console, and they're like, I'm not getting any events, right? And that's normal because we only trigger events in the self-booking interface, right? Because that's the interface that your customers are going to be using to booking makeup, also booking trials, booking makeups also, but obviously you don't want to trigger conversions for makeups. So things like lead capture, registration, enrollment forms, these are all going to trigger Google Tag Manager events, but an admin logging onto the console or a teacher logging onto the console to check their schedule is not going to trigger anything, right? So that's another source of confusion. So don't be confused with that. Always test with the self-booking links or lead capture form, and that will trigger events, right? So that's just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, good call out there, Sam. So when we use Google Tag Manager's preview mode here, you're going to see it'll open up a new window. So you'll have two windows open. One will be this window here, and you can kind of see there in the corner it says Tag Assistant Connected. This is confirmation that the Google Tag Manager container is on this page and that Google recognizes it. And then back in this tab, you'll see right here we are connected, and the Google Tag Manager preview window will list out all the different events that it recognizes here on the left side. And I'll show you kind of how we utilize this. I'm going to go back over to this tab, and I'm going to click through a few things. So say you are someone interested in a 60-minute piano trial lesson, and you would go and select staff, and then you would select some availability. And then you would go through and hit book. And then it asks you to go and create the account and register, and then put in your credit card information and go all the way through the process. As I stepped through that just now, you can see that there's a lot of new events that have been added here on the left. And some of these, like staff selection, plan selection, time slot selection, these are custom events that Opus One is pushing to Google Tag Manager as someone progresses through the funnel. All of these events are being exposed for Tag Manager to listen for and hook into if you wanted to fire any specific conversion or event tags on these. But what's interesting is if we go and select one of these events, like time slot selection, and then we look at the data layer at this point in time, this is all of the rich data that is exposed to us as someone steps through the Opus process. And so this is, again, the important ones are listed here in the documentation. But this is where I would go and look and specifically look at like the service tags that are listed here. And as someone steps through, you can kind of see Opus is passing all of this information to Google Tag Manager, information about, who the staff member is, information about the service name that we selected, the location that we're using. All of this is available to us in Google Tag Manager. So like I was explaining earlier, we only want to track if someone purchases a trial lesson, because that's what we want to attach our ad tags to. You can see that the service tag, one of the ones listed here, is trial lesson. So back over to our trigger that we set up in Tag Manager, this is where that booking engine service tags, we're looking for something that either matches trial or group. The way that you get this data from the data layer into Google Tag Manager is through those variables. And you would go and set up a new variable here for, in this case, service name is the one that we're using. And this is the format that we're looking for. We're basically saying, hey, create a new data layer variable. Anything that's in the data layer that matches this name. And then we have the little period to delineate the hierarchy in the JSON. We want to capture that in Google Tag Manager so that we can use that for our triggers. Now, I'm sure a lot of you might be looking at this thinking, wow, this is like a lot of like really complex stuff. We have created a Google Tag Manager recipe. And what that is it's a little file that you download, and you can import this into your own Google Tag Manager container, and it will have a whole bunch of preset variables and triggers set up for you to use. So I'm going to show you how this works. If you're starting from scratch, this is going to get you 90% of the way there. This is going to be so much faster than trying to set all of this up from scratch. So go into the knowledge base article, click the link to download the recipe. It's a little JSON file. You just want to click this little download button up here in the corner to download this to your desktop. And then back in Tag Manager, so I have created a brand new container. There's no tags, no triggers, no variables. The Demonstration Academy of Music has thankfully been opened up to us to play around with. Okay, so brand new tag container. What we're going to do is we're going to click this import button right here, and we're going to choose that file that we just downloaded. And we'll open that up. We'll just leave this on the default workspace. This is important. If you already have some existing tags in your container, you're going to want to merge these, not overwrite them. And then you can choose if there's a conflict with some existing tags. There probably won't be a conflict, but you can choose to overwrite or just rename these. But you can see this is a preview of everything that we're going to add. So there's a whole bunch of new variables that this is going to bring in and a whole bunch of new triggers. So I'm going to click Add to Workspace. This will just get these all deployed really quickly here. And now you can see there's no tags yet, but there's a whole bunch of triggers that are already set up for us. And these triggers could be purchasing a lesson or any of the steps through the Opus process or the lead form submission. This is all set up for that lead capture event. This is a pretty common one that a lot of people ask about. So once this is already brought in, all we have to do now is create a tag and attach it to that trigger. So like, for example, say I want to fire a Google Analytics event. We would create a new tag here. You would put in your measurement ID. It usually starts with a G, long string of numbers, just like that. And then we would give this an event name. So this could be, lead form, submit, or something like that. You can name this whatever you want to appear in Google Analytics. And then we would go and attach it to that trigger, that lead form submission trigger. And then we just give this a name, GA4 event.
Something I want to call out very quickly also, some people watching this might be confused. The lead capture form is a Opus One IO Plus feature that's part of our CRM, our advanced prospect management platform. So if you don't have a lead capture form today, and probably that means you probably don't have Opus One IO Plus, so don't hesitate to contact us and we can help you get on board Plus.
Yeah, good call out there. That's just one of the many triggers that we can attach this to. If you wanted to do a self-booking, same thing, you would just create a new tag. Maybe this is, a self-booking event. This is just whatever name you want to have this appear as in Google Analytics. And then you would change that trigger to a self-booking event. I'm going to give you just a couple examples because a lot of people usually ask us about Google Ads conversion tags and Facebook Ads conversion tags. This is a little outside of the scope of what Opus provides from a support standpoint, but just because this is a pretty common thing that we do. If you're looking for, let's just talk through Google Ads real quick. If you're talking through Google Ads, you're going to need a couple things. The first thing you need is this conversion linker tag applied on every page. This is kind of like a legacy vestigial thing that Google Ads just needs on every page for the conversions to work. So we need the conversion linker tag, and we just need to fire this on every page. I will add one thing. If we're deploying this on Opus as well as our primary website, I'm going to also attach an Opus page view trigger to this. The way that page views work within the Opus app is a little bit different than like a standard website. With a standard website, as you kind of click through the website and go through different links, every time a new page loads, it's going to fire a page view event that this one will pick up on. But Opus is a single page web app. So as you kind of go through the different screens in Opus, that page view tag will only fire once. We'll want to attach it to this trigger as well to make sure that every page view in Opus also fires a page view tag. And we can just call this the conversion linker. This is required for Google Ads. The second thing that we need for Google Ads is just the remarketing tag. This is a tag that you want to have on all of your pages. It feeds the Google Analytics pixel, and it's separate from a conversion tag. This is just the standard page view tag, and it's the Google Analytics or Google Ads remarketing tag right here. Same thing. This needs to be on all pages, and so we'll add this to all pages as well as the Opus page view event. It'll actually check and tell you if that conversion linker tag hasn't been deployed. But we'll just call this one GAds remarketing pixel. And the one thing that you need to supply here is your conversion ID. You would get this from your Google Ads console. If you go into your conversion setup in Google Ads, it'll tell you what your conversion ID is. So this is unique to your Google Ads account.
And I'm gonna ask a question because I want to make sure I understand, and for those like myself who are not Google Ads experts, I think what Kenna is referring to here is that this will basically allow you, when you see your campaigns in Google Ads, you will be able to see whether these ads have converted, right? Is that correct, Kenna? So
Yeah.
if I remember right, in Google Ads, for each campaign, each ads, or I forgot, they group by campaigns and ads, you can see the impression, the clicks, and you can see the conversion events, right? So Google needs to be told, okay, was after the person clicked on the ad, they went to a landing page, or they went to Opus One IO, or they went somewhere, your website, or then Opus One IO. We want to track that person all the way through. Actually, did they actually book a trial after they clicked on that ad? And that's basically what we're doing here. This feeds the data back into Google Ads so that you can see that counter increase, and you can see not just your impression and your clicks, but your actual conversions. And here, conversion can be, as Kenna explained, either somebody submitted a form and you want to call them back, or could be that they actually booked a trial lesson, and that's obviously the best conversion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is all set up to make sure that you're able to report those conversions back to Google Ads. And again, for most music schools, that's lead form submits. If you're using the Opus One IO Plus lead form, or it's some type of self booking event, that'll also get reported as a separate conversion event. But these two, the conversion linker and the remarketing pixel, are needed before we set up a conversion tag. These are just the base tags that fire on every page. So now that those are deployed, we'll do one more tag, and this is built in here. This is Google Ads conversion tracking. This will be the same conversion ID that we supplied earlier. And then if you go into Google Ads and you set up multiple conversion events, each of those conversion events has like a unique label. And this will be like another like long string of like letters and numbers, something kind of like that. Again, in Google Ads, if you go into your conversion event setup, it'll tell you what the conversion ID and the conversion label is for each of these unique events. But say this is the conversion label for our lead form submit tag, then we would just connect this to this trigger, the lead form submission, and we just name this Google Ads, lead form submit, something like that, and save it. Okay, so now we've got our base page view tags, that's these two, and then we have a specific conversion tag for Google Ads all set up and ready to go. This isn't live until we go and actually submit this and publish these changes. So make sure you do that, or they're just going to kind of be sitting staged in your tag manager container. Make sure you publish when you're done. But that's in a nutshell how you would set up tags and triggers to start reporting these conversion events. Just like we just did here with Google Ads, it's pretty common for most of our clients to want to deploy Google Analytics events so that they can see all of this information in Google Analytics. And then for our clients that are also running Facebook ads, you can also deploy your Facebook tags. That's not built in as a built-in tag type here. This is just a custom HTML tag, and it'll usually start with something like script. Like if you go into your Facebook ads manager, like there's a whole like here. It looks basically like this. There we go. This is what the Facebook event codes. And this is the one that you want to have fire on all pages. So remember, we want to select the Opus One page view tag. This will just be our like meta pixel that fires on all pages. And then for a conversion for Facebook, again, refer to the Facebook documentation for this. It's a, here, I can grab one really quickly here to show you, just so if you're watching this and following along, you're like, yes, okay, good. This looks like mine. Say we want to fire like Meta has like about a dozen or so what they call standard events. It looks basically like this. And we would fire this on lead form. So maybe for a lead form, so initiate checkout, maybe it's just a lead event. Or if it's a booking, you call this a purchase event. Refer to Meta's documentation for all their standard events, but it essentially just looks like this. And then Meta conversion, boom, save it. And then we submit it and we go and publish this, and then all this will be live and tracking and ready to go. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Sam, is there anything that I haven't really covered about this
No, that's
whole
great.
process?
I mean, I think it would be interesting to show kind of like, I mean, we won't have time to go into how you build those, but I think it would be interesting for people watching this to see the more advanced things that you guys can do for your music school customers, like the Looker dashboard, and because I think it really illustrates very well. Like once you get all that data, when you set up your landing page correctly, when you can track all these conversions, not just in the Google Ads console or in the Facebook console. And this obviously what Kena is going to show you is much more advanced, and you're probably going to need some help to set that up. But you can really get a lot of data and have an idea of where do you spend your money, how many people are going through your funnel, why are they dropping? For example, something that happens a lot at my school is a lot of people select time slots, but then they don't end up booking stuff because we probably suspect that they just don't find the time slot that they want, and maybe we don't have enough availabilities for them. So you can really see your whole conversion funnel at every step of the process, from impression of the ad, the click, then they went to a landing page, then they went to the Opus One IO booking, then they select a teacher or two, browse a couple of locations, and then eventually booked or not. And you can see all the data. You can see all the data end to end and see how much money you spend on your different campaigns, and how many people actually ended up booking a trial. And then understanding exactly which campaigns are working for you, because ultimately the whole goal of tracking all this stuff is have an idea of, like, when you spend money on marketing, it's kind of like, at least how I used to do it before I used Redline, is I didn't know what was working. We're just spending a bunch of money and have no idea what actually converted. It's kind of like a spray and pray and hope, right? And that's not a good strategy for business. So you want to be able to track where you're spending your money and which campaign, try different campaigns and track things so that you can measure and actually improve, and say, okay, this ad is resonating. It's not just getting a lot of impressions and clicks, but actually people who are watching this ad, for some reason, are more likely to actually book a trial than other people that maybe you can have another ad campaign that's very successful, but nobody's booking anything with it, right? So maybe you should not be spending your money on a campaign that's or on a specific ad or a specific channel that's just generating click that you're paying for, but nobody's actually booking anything after that. So you might just be targeting the wrong people, for example.
Sam, are you okay if I share the dashboard for?
Yeah, you can show my school. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So this is what Sam was talking about here, and this is something that we offer to all of our clients who use us for paid media management. But you can totally do this yourself. This is all built on the backbone of the tag manager setup that we just deployed. So you can kind of see with the ad spend being pulled in from the ad consoles, we're able to report on all the total lead events that are coming in, and we kind of take that a step further too and try to calculate the value of someone like booking a trial lesson or filling out that lead form and making a phone call. We can pass that conversion value back into the ad consoles and calculate like an ROI on our investment. But yeah, all those different lead events that are coming through, someone booking trial lessons, those are all fired through Tag Manager into our Google Ads or our Facebook Ads console. And then we can kind of see it at the campaign level or at the ad group level, which conversions are firing on each of those. And it all kind of bubbles up here to kind of a summary. The other thing,
can you show the booking engine, because I think it's really interesting to look at the funnel.
So another thing that we set up, and we're passing this data over to Google Analytics, and then we're pulling it from Google Analytics here, is this kind of funnel as people kind of step through the booking process. So you can kind of see we've recorded in the last 30 days like 1,400 events where someone has selected a staff member, and then 125 events if someone selected a time slot, and then who actually purchases like a paid lesson and then registers for a new account. You can slice and dice all of this data, whether that's, your staff members or your different service bookings or location bookings. If you were to start to slice and dice this in Google Analytics, you can see, okay, only show me, from a certain paid campaign, what type of services are getting booked. By collecting all of this data and passing it into Google Analytics, you can get really granular with how you kind of slice and dice all of this stuff.
And this is an example. Correct me, Ken, if I'm wrong, but you cannot do that with a simple pixel, right? Because simple pixel is an old school technology that basically, tracks something when on a specific thank you page. But here we can get a lot more granularity because every single click in the self booking is actually being tracked with data that people are clicking on, right? So we can really see what they're doing. And there's probably even more that we could do with that, but it's already a lot of information that you can consume and helps you make informed decision on your budget, on your marketing budget allocation.
Yeah. And the last kind of step in the funnel, like I'm glad you actually brought this up and said thank you page. I've seen a lot of people like in the Opus One group ask like, hey, is there like a thank you page URL that I can deploy my tags on? Because Opus One is a single page web app, there is no thank you page URL. And so the proper way to do that is, again, referring to the knowledge base article that I did have pulled up at some point. Here it is.
By the way, we're gonna be posting this webinar on the knowledge base and on the Facebook group. And I think also there was a webinar we recorded maybe a couple years ago with Redline that's a little bit less technical, more about kind of best practices around landing pages and what. So we're gonna have both webinars are very interesting. The first one was a little bit more generic about how to set up your landing pages and all that stuff, but we didn't go into too much depth into how to set up Google Tag Manager. But this should help you one step further to actually be able to set up your tag manager and to be able to track things accurately.
Yeah. So no thank you page URL. It's probably one of these two custom events. Set up the trigger in Google Tag Manager and then attach any of your conversion tags to it. Cool. I think this is a good time to open up the floor to
Big questions.
Yeah. And Sam, I guess you could start. Is there? I know I asked this already. Is there anything I didn't cover or any other questions?
No, that's great. That's really great. I mean, like you pointed out, with you following what you showed and using the documentation, I think anybody reasonably technical, but you don't have to be an expert in Google Tag or Google Ads, can set this up and can get already a lot of value out of it, right? Unfortunately, we don't provide direct support for Google Tag Manager and Google Ads because that's way out of scope of what we provide. But we can, at least we can, get you going and give you guys the documentation and this demo to help you guys going. Then if you want something more advanced, more complicated, like the dashboard that Kenna just showed you, you can definitely contract a marketing agency. Redline is great. There's many others that do this. It's very standard. It's definitely more in depth, more complicated. The one advantage I would say of working with Redline is they work with a lot of music schools. So they understand the market and they already kind of have like almost, I would say, cookie cutter strategies that work well for music school in terms of what creatives do work, how to track the right things. You won't have to spend hours explaining to them what is a makeup versus a trial. They already know this stuff because they work with a lot of music schools. So that's an endorsement of Redline Media. We've been working with them for years, and they've been working with many other music schools.
Yeah,
some that you might know.
Yeah, I'd say like 70 to 80% is pretty much the same strategies and tactics, and then every music school is a little bit different. Like it's really funny. Some tactics and techniques work great for some music schools, some don't for others. But you don't know until you try it and measure this. Brandon, I saw you raise your hand. Question?
Yeah, I was on the phone with the Google Tag implementation team, and they were saying that I had to refer to the text after the form was filled in. So there's like a thank you message that appears, and I had to somehow kind of link the text of that in order to mark it as a conversion, if you know what I mean. Like I had to code that inside of the tag manager. But I think, and I remember working with them on the lead capture tag firing there, and I think they were still saying that I still had to use the text at the after page. But are you saying you don't have to use that if you?
That's correct. I know what they're talking about. So yeah, you can actually like do like an element visibility trigger, which would be like this one right here, and either like with an ID or a CSS selector, you would try and like watch for like a certain element to appear on screen.
That kind of feels like a hack. I think we don't need to do this, right?
Yeah, you don't need to do that. We've done that before as like a last like ditch scenario if we can't figure any other way out to like figure out like a form fill or something like that. But yeah, you don't need to do that anymore. You would just reference the not the purchase list. Oh, because I changed it. It's the I had it here. All my different tabs.
This is a lead capture, right?
Yeah. It's this event.
And the reason is because because we've been working for the past few years with Redline to help my music school and others to track the right thing. We've been integrating, the right triggers at the right places, so we can really send Google Tag Manager precise information. You don't have to hack and write some code to analyze what shows up on the page to try to figure out what is happening on the page. We're already doing all of that for you, right? So the setting in OpenSUNA is super simple. You just plug in your Google Tag ID, as Kenna showed you earlier, and then Opus One IO will trigger events on specific things and send a payload, like a data layer, to Google Tag Manager, and then you can set up all this stuff that Kenna showed you. So you don't have to do these hacks. And that's what's tricky when you're working with like directly with Google support or Facebook support, is they don't know exactly, they don't know Opus, they don't know what we've already done, and they might sadly maybe point you in the wrong way and make you get confused. But hopefully this documentation help, and you can show them like, hey, we're getting these events, and you can test them with a preview, right? So it's important to set up your triggers and preview them, and then as you navigate the UI, you're going to see these events getting triggered, and then that should help you set up your variables and your dashboards and all of that.
Yeah. So Brandon, just implement a trigger with the lead capture event. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, cool. And I really like the templates that you guys created. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. So I look to, applying those.
Yeah, hopefully that'll get you 90% of the way there, because this is complex if you don't know Google Tag Manager at all.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks again, Kenna. That's great. Especially, I didn't notice that you provided that template configuration. I think that's going to help our customers a lot.
Oh yeah,
because I know there's been a lot of questions on this topic, a lot of confusion, and it's probably the most, that and other like Zapier stuff with webhooks can be probably some of the most complex stuff that people can do with Opus One IO, that you cannot just like, you cannot just improvise. You have to have a little bit of experience and how these things work and set it up the right way.
Yeah, we kind of set up that that Google Tag Manager recipe with all those preset triggers and variables, just because we do it so much with when we onboard music schools, and I'm like, I'm gonna just clean this up a little bit. We can just share this, make it easier for everyone.
Yeah, that's good. I really appreciate it. Is there any other questions? I think we're coming up on time. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if there's no questions, we're gonna end it here. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Kenna, and your team for putting this together. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining. I'll be posting the recording on the Facebook group and updating the knowledge base page. And if there's other topics like this around tracking or marketing that you'd be interested in, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to us if you got any questions on paid media, Google Ads, Facebook Ads. That's what we do.
Yeah, you want to put the Redline as a URL, like a landing page specifically for music schools, where they show a little bit what the marketing services they offer for music schools. If you want to put that on the chat, Kenna.
Yeah. So we've developed a package for music schools specifically. It's all on our website. I'll share it here just so it's part of the recording.
Redlinemedia.com/music schools.
Yeah, redlinemedia.com. You'll see the link to music schools there in the header. This is our package that we offer for music schools. So happy to talk more. Just reach out.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam. Good to see you.
All right. Thank you.